Josh, another week and you've been linked with yet another club. It's Leicester this time around. How do you feel when you see things like that? You're getting linked with clubs like Leicester.
That's obviously exciting, but the first I've seen of it was on Twitter. My dad showed me it. It is still madness to myself, but can't focus on that too much. I know that, so we need to focus on the game on Sunday. But no, it is exciting, and obviously it's a confidence boost for myself and a big club like that. I seem to be interested in.
What's that like for a young player then? Because there are big games for Hibs to come. How do you try and incubate yourself away from all that speculation when people, even like your dad, are showing you that?
Myself, I just try not to look at anything. I've kind of been like that since the start of the season on Twitter and all that stuff. Just trying to stay away from it and just focus on football. That's been my biggest aim, is just focus on the game and, games at the weekend, it's all focused towards that. And, it is the last 5 games now, and this is the big last push where we need to pick up as many points as we can to stay where we are in the league. So that's a very important game on Sunday. So definitely try and keep away from the Twitter stuff that's getting said.
We were speaking to the chairman during the week, and he was saying that he doesn't want to stand in anyone's way. He wants his club to develop players, and if they then want to move on, that's what he's willing to do. What does that make you? How does that make you feel when you hear that? And how key is actually staying and playing games in terms of your development too?
It's massive. Obviously, it's a shock for myself playing this many games this season. It's a massive bonus for myself. I didn't expect this at all coming at the start of the season. But no, I heard Ron. It was a good interview. He said good things about myself, so it was very pleasing. But no, what's funny won't go by me. I've always said that, and I'm not looking too forward to summer. What's going to happen then? So I have just been focusing on the games that are coming and training because I'm loving it at the moment. So don't need to look too far ahead when you're enjoying it.
Well, you've got Rangers coming up and going to the Champions. How good is that for your development, and how much, given how close the games have been between the teams this season, do you feel that Hibs can go and get something this time?
Yeah, definitely. I feel we can go every time we've played against them. We've put in a brilliant effort, and we're unlucky to not take 3 points out of both the games that we've played. But no, it's a massive time. This is the big push now. This is where we could go on Sunday and take 3 points for this game, because we look fit in training. We've been sharp, so no, we're all focused and ready to go.
Josh, you say that you almost been shocked you've played this many games this season. When you broke into the team, did you have belief in your own ability that you could be so successful?
Yeah, I always have belief in myself. You need to have that to play at clubs like Hibs. But with players like Louis and even Sean Maka in front of me, I just thought it would be impossible to break through them. But with injuries within themselves and stuff, I got lucky and had a few good pre-season friendlies as well that worked my way into the squad. So it is your luck as well with players getting injured and stuff. But no, I like to think it's down to my ability as well. Sometimes I've worked hard, and I feel like I do deserve it with all the work I've put in.
What do you think it is about left backs in Scotland? Why have we got such a bunch of ability in that left back position?
Could not tell you. God knows, but no, we have got so many. Tierney, Robertsons, it's madness. The bunch of left backs we have, but it's brilliant to look up to your Andy Robertsons and Tierneys and stuff, and you can try and base as much of your game off them as possible, because if they can do it, play at the highest level, coming from Scotland as well, that's the dream, that's the hope that you're driving towards.
Josh, can I ask you about the impact that Lewis Stevenson's had on this season for you? You've basically taken over a jersey that he has filled for the last 7 or 8 years. How has he helped you into becoming the player that you are now?
Every single week, it's just the tips and the pointers and the wee things before the game about who I'm going to be playing against. He's been absolutely massive for my development this season. I couldn't thank him enough. And all the experienced players, it's always just wee tips and things, because they've played the game for so long, and they've done it all. So to have so many experienced players at Hibs, it does help massively. But Louis has been brilliant with me. He's helped me through almost every game, just with pointers, and he's played against almost everyone I'm going to come up against. So he knows what I'll be coming up against. So he's been brilliant with the help for the game.
For the last 12 months, football has been very strange. But for you, I would assume it's been the best 12 months of your short football career so far.
Yeah, it's just a normality for me, not playing in front of any fans. Last season with the 18s and the development squad, there was never any fans there. So it doesn't feel, obviously it feels like playing first team football, but I just can't wait to get the fans back in the stands. I think it'll be quite a shock to the system when they are back in. But I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait for it.
What does the next 12 months hold for you?
I never try to look that far ahead, but just to keep playing. I know I'm still young. It's nothing's ever certain. So wherever I'm, as long as I'm playing football, playing games, I'll be happy.
Thanks, Josh.
Josh, when you look a wee bit further ahead, how big would it be to have regular European football, and how important would that be in your development?
Massive, absolutely massive. To play against teams from all over the world, it's something that you can only help your game and help your ability and push you forward, and physically as well. Teams from other countries are always bigger, and in Scotland, you have to be physical as well. But no, it'd be brilliant, and such a big competition as well. So to try and keep in Europe and keep playing games in it, it's brilliant. Financially as well, you reap the rewards. So that's how important it is to keep going this season and try and get into it.
So the third place has the potential, depending on what happens with the cups, of delivering European football right the way through to December. Aside from the fact that third place, it hasn't been something that Hibs have managed to achieve all that much over in recent history. I mean, how big, how important is it to hold on to this position for you?
Absolutely massive for myself and everyone at the club. It's such a big thing for the club. So we're all just, there's a focus now. You can feel it within the building, within training and stuff. There is a massive focus and an energy towards pushing and keeping this third place, because we know how big it is. We've worked hard all season. The boys deserve it. So now it's just the big push to get it.
Hi Josh, I remember when you were sort of playing a lot of pre-season friendlies and stuff in and around the squad. I messaged someone at the club and sort of said, I compared you to Paul Hanlon, sort of like a centre-back who can play left-back, and as the season's went on, you've obviously done really well at left-back. First thing, is that a comparison you'd agree with? And secondly, do you sort of see your position as left-back now after how well you've done this season?
Last season I was always centre-half, which was... I loved it in there because I was tall, but I always felt quite mobile. I always felt quite fast, but I felt centre half. I felt close in the ball, but I never had much running to do because I always had so much energy. So pre-season, when the first game I played actual left wing back was against St Mirren, I remember just thinking, just run. Just all I done the whole game was just run, and I absolutely loved it. So from there, I sort of pushed out in that left back position. But I've came in and out of left back all through my life, really, from a young age. I started as a left winger, because I've always just had so much energy to run about. But, even when I was 13, 14, I was still playing left back. Then I went to centre mid. I think I was striker at one point. I think I've played everywhere. But, I enjoy left wing back and left back just because, so much running. But as I get older, if my legs tire out, I might be to look into centre half if that's what comes around.
Cheers, Brian.
Josh, you spoke about not playing in front of fans. When's the last time you played in front of a crowd?
It would have been Queen's Park at Hampden. They've got about 1,000 fans in, but at Hampden it's so big so you can hardly even notice them. It's crazy. But no, it would have been Queen's Park, the last home game. I can't remember what it would have been. But that would have been the last time. But still, I thought 1,000 fans at Hampden was the biggest thing ever. I was loving it. But I can imagine a packed Hampden, how good that would be. So that's something to aim for as well.
I guess the next part of your development is playing in front of packed houses and full stadiums.
Yeah, definitely. Try and learn to take the abuse as well. Comes with it.
Cheers.
Josh, I suppose with that in mind, sort of next season perhaps, even though this one's been a big one for you, next season, if you want to call it proper football in front of crowds and stuff, is going to be the real test for you.
Yeah, I've joked with the assistant manager about it that I might crumble, but hopefully I won't. Hopefully I'll be able to keep my game as high as the level as high as it can be. But no, I'm generally looking forward to it. Obviously, I'm nervous about it, but I can't wait for them to get back in and you know, it'll be a new experience for myself. It'll just be like, you know, almost like another total game, because I know fans can motivate you massively. So no, I'm looking forward to it.
This weekend you'll be gutted James Tavernier isn't playing with the game you had against him last time.
Yeah, no, but you know, whoever it'll be, I know it'll be a hard game. You know how hard Rangers work, so it'll be a very tough game. So we don't need to go in with, you know, maximum effort, and need to put a good night in, and, you know, try and come away with something.
Josh, you've chipped in with a couple of assists this season, especially in the last game in the league against Livingston. Is that something that you're working on in the training ground and something you're trying to add to your game?
Yeah, I know, you know, playing left wing back, you know, you're only really out ball in the wide area. So it is up to me to try and get as many assists and, you know, create as many chances as I can. You know, I still feel I could have done more, but, you know, start of the season playing more left back, it's not as easy to get up the pitch. But no, I felt something, you know, more during the end of the season that I've sort of brought to my game, and I'm trying to get as many shots away as possible now. And, you know, some of them are going all over the place, but, you know, it's something I'm working on, because, you know, can't beat scoring goals. It's something that from a left wing back position as possible, you know, try to cut inside them right as well. So just putting as much work into it as I can now. You know, my crossing, my shooting, everything from the top side of the pitch, because I'm not really used to being up there. It's a scary place for me. So just getting used to it and trying to get as much attacking threat as possible.
How helpful is Lewis Stevenson been in that, trying to guide you through and add that to your game, and the manager as well, Jack Ross? Is he kind of encouraging you to get forward as much as you can? Yeah,
there's a lot of focus towards it in training. You know, putting balls in. Louis gave me tips, because, you know, Louis' deliveries are brilliant and all that. So if I can take tips off him and try and base my crossing off him, it, you know, can only help me. But it's more just, you know, positioning, how to get the cross in and stuff, and my feet, try to sort them out a wee bit. But hopefully it'll all come together soon.
Thanks, Josh.
Jack, firstly, can I start? You see a lot of clubs boycotting social media with regards to the issues over online hate and racism. Is that something that you would back, or the club would consider?
It's not something I've discussed with the players as of yet, and I think it would be very much a decision for them to take in the club. Difficult for me to offer a personal opinion on it, because I don't really use those platforms. However, I've been a long-term advocate of the lack of regulation and accountability through those types of platforms. I think that opinion I've held for a number of years now. It's only in recent times I think there's more scrutiny being placed upon the type of language and the type of use that is openly used via those platforms. So if there's a positive to take out of it, is the fact that has been ever increasingly highlighted, and it may force action to take place that increases that accountability.
We were speaking to Ron Gordon during the week. What did you make of what he had to say in terms of the overall health of the club?
Well, I think that it was nothing that I wasn't aware of. So the fact that I speak to Ron regularly and I'm involved in all the board meetings means that there was no surprises for me in terms of his overall plans for the club, and then where the club stood financially in terms of the health of it, and how obviously they've still been impacted by the last 13 months now, if you like, in terms of this the pandemic that we've all lived through. So for me, as I said, there was no surprises. There was nothing that I didn't know, if you like. And it just runs very much in alignment with, I think, what we've tried to do in recent times, what we're going to continue to do, try moving forward in terms of keep building a consistent success around the club.
He said that no players will be sold on the cheap, but he conceded that one or two of the assets might go in the summer. Is that something that he's discussed with you in terms of, you've gone through the pluses and minuses of that sort of situation, or have you discussed what would happen thereafter?
I think we have plans in place for all scenarios. So your ideal scenario is your squad remains intact, and you look at where you need to add and strengthen to it. If you lose one player, two players, three players, whatever it may be. So and also I think Ron knows you're very much acutely aware of my standing on things, that I will adapt to whatever situation I'm in. So even in January, there was no pressure on me put on him from me not to sell any of the players, because I understood the challenges the club's faced financially in recent times, and the need to always have a plan and believe that at some point you may have to sell your really good players for a certain value. So my job is to solve the problem, if you like, at all times. Thankfully, I didn't have that big problem in January because of the decision we made as a club. But it may be that the summer is the right time that the club believes to maximise the value in certain players. And if that's the case, then we just adapt and move on accordingly. As I said, the very first scenario I painted there about everything remaining intact is the ideal one. But it's very rarely it pans out like that.
Is that the exciting part of this season, though? With 5 games to go, you're in a good position. You could get a really good European spot as well, and that then puts the club in a stronger position going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it highlighted again within the AGM the benefits of us qualifying for Europe, the length of time we can stay in European competition and the stage of it we can progress to, the benefits to the club financially, and then if I look from a purely football point of view, how it helps us attract good players to the club in terms of us participating in Europe, hopefully, and then also the pathway that we can provide to players to go and be successful and show how good they are, such as Kevin, Ryan playing regularly this season, Josh Doig coming through the academy to play. All these success stories that we've had, that coinciding with a successful team performance over a season, should strengthen our ability to hopefully attract good players as well.
Jack, you talk about perhaps solving a problem next season, or you nearly had to in January if your top players do get sold. Is there any excitement from your point of view that perhaps if your top players do get sold, you might get quite a lot back to reinvest in the team? Do you kind of look forward to that as a manager ever?
I think it's just very much part of the job. The circumstances in which you work in evolve fairly quickly, and you just have to adapt. And again, people speak about philosophies and approaches in management. The truth is, unless you're very, very fortunate and you're at a club that is incredibly wealthy and has the same starting point all the time, you've got to be able to adjust accordingly. And the part of it, as I said, mentioned the problem-solving aspect of it. That's a bit of joy. It's trying to find the solutions to each problem you have. And sometimes they're on a daily basis, sometimes they're weekly, sometimes they come in transfer windows. As I mentioned, and if it means that the summer presents, I'm using the word problems, I don't mean the problems, if it presents challenges or puzzles that we have to try and figure out, then so be it. It's an enjoyable part of the job.
We just spoke to Josh there, and he said, Tierney and Robertson are kind of players that he looks at, aspires to. Perhaps one day he could reach the level they're playing at. I know you've spoken about him plenty already this season, but do you think he can kind of reach that level that those two are at, considering he's broken through at such a young age?
Well, I think he's got attributes to give him a very, very good chance of that. So I think it's one thing to start playing regular first team football at a very good level at 18. But second of all, I think you have to dig a bit deeper and look at what he has in his locker, what he's shown already and what we still feel he can improve upon. So he's got, in my opinion, all the necessary attributes to reach that level of the game. And I think that people start discussing young players of the year, etc. in this country. I can't see many that will be better than him over the course of a season. How consistently he's played in our first team. He's been part of a team that's consistently challenged at the top end of the table. And his performance level within that time has been hugely consistent as well. So for an 18-year-old teenage fullback, far and away the best in the league this season in terms of overall as a young player, will be up there with any across the league as well. Jack,
can I ask you about going to Ibrox on Sunday? No domestic club has won at Ibrox in over 15 months now. What does that tell us about the task that lies ahead of you and your players on Sunday?
Yeah, it's the biggest one you get currently in Scottish football. That record is not easy to put together. It's testament to what Rangers have done as a team this season and beyond that in terms of that level of consistency. I suppose for us, we can gauge it a little bit on the only time we've been there this season. So on Boxing Day, we travelled there and felt as if we performed really well and pushed Rangers really hard that day. So all the games against them this season, we feel as if we've been hugely competitive. In that game at Ibrox, we felt as if we performed well. If we perform at the same level, then I think we've got a chance of winning the game. Because we did it on that day, we lost it. And that's why they've got that terrific home record, because they found ways to win games at times as well. But certainly for us, we take acknowledging the size of the task, take a lot of encouragement from our performance the last time we were there.
It's been a strange season playing in front of big stadiums without any crowds. when crowds come back, and hopefully by the start of next season they'll be back in, do you expect, I mean, Josh, for example, was telling us there, the last big crowd he played in front of was 1,000 people at Hampden for Queen's Park. He's never played at Easter Road with 18,000 fans there. Do you think having fans back in will make an impact again?
Yeah, I think undoubtedly it will be an adjustment again for everybody, because I think we've spoken through the course of the season about sometimes the discipline you can keep within your team shape, because communication is so much easier within quiet stadiums than it is in stadiums that have noise and atmosphere within them. You then look at the decision making from players in full stadiums as opposed to empty stadiums, and then as you mentioned about the getting used to the pressure of playing in front of a crowd as well. I think for Josh it's probably been a rather bizarre set of circumstances to play your first full season in, but arguably quite a good way to have an introduction to first team football, because the standard of player he's come up against and the standard of teams he's come up against hasn't changed. It's just the fact he's been allowed to do it in an environment that has been different, and perhaps allowed him that slightly easier introduction to first team football.
With the exception of going to Ibrox, where, as I say, they've been, undefeated. There have been a lot of games where you would expect the home clubs to win, but they've not. Do you think that grounds, and big grounds in particular, are less intimidating without fans for opposing clubs?
Yeah, I think it's very difficult for us to ignore the influence of huge home crowds. I think that's why, for a long, long time, people have pointed towards that and pointed towards the benefit of the atmosphere that's generated in some stadiums, some famously, etc., that talk about the advantage that gives them. So I think this season why there's been maybe more away victories or more better away performances. I don't know if statistically that's the case. It feels that way. Certainly for us, we've got an away record, I think, that's only better by Rangers in the league. So, we've seemed to have enjoyed going away, and whether that's been a factor or not, it's very difficult to say for certainty, but it does change the dynamics of it without a shadow of a doubt, Brian. It's very different going to Ibrox on Sunday with no fans in the stadium than it is when you've got maybe a couple of thousand your own fans, but high 40s to 50,000 Rangers fans. The dynamics obviously do change.
Thanks, Jack. Good luck Sunday.
Thanks, Brian. Thank you.
Hi, Jack. Speaking of fans obviously having an effect on home games and stuff, I know in the past you've spoke about frustrations with Easter Road's pitch and having to sort of change the way you play. Ron Gordon speaking about upgrading the pitch and having a consistency with that at HDC. How vital could that be towards getting sort of some consistency at Easter Road?
Yeah, I think that it's just trying to better the club all the time and push our standards as a club, but also push the standards as a team. And I think every single manager in the league would want the best playing surface available to them. I've said frequently that there's no criticism at calling or groundsman because there's been no resources spent on the pitch in the past year, so that has made it difficult to keep the pitch to a good standard. This time period, I think the last home game we had was Motherwell, so we don't play at home again until Livingston, and that hopefully has helped it a little bit. But the truth is, it's not going to improve significantly until the work's done over the summer. And that, when in alignment with the improvement of a couple of the pitches at training ground, should mean that overall as a club we feel as if we're in a stronger position again, standard-wise, and hopefully see the benefit of that on pitch in a match day as well.
And something you spoke about at the AGM yourself was sort of areas you're looking to strengthen. You mentioned about potentially more goals from midfield, but you were hopeful that McGuinness could potentially add that. Are you hopeful that his issues that kind of obviously he's been out the team a bit are behind him? And is it maybe next season before we'll sort of see the best of him?
Yeah, there's different parts to that. I think first of all, we're really keen to bring him into the club. But we also accepted at that point that this season was not necessarily going to be the one that would he should be judged on, because he was coming back from a serious knee injury. You tend to pick up one or two niggles in the aftermath of that. He's also been unfortunate enough to have COVID through the course of the last wee while as well, which ruled him out for a period. So it's been stop-start for him. But first of all, he's a really, really good player who I think a huge amount of. That's why I was so desperate to bring him here. And he's been the last probably 2.5 weeks in training. He's been very, very good, really good. I thought he was good when he came on against Queen of the South. And I think he can look forward to hopefully contributing in this last part of the season. That'll give him the platform then to really make that significant impact, I think, from early next season.
Brilliant. Cheers, Jack.
Thank you.
Is your squad looking for Sunday, Jack?
Yeah, as we were for the Queen of the South game, Jamie Murphy missed that game. He had a recurrence of a hamstring injury that will rule him out for the foreseeable future. Stephen Bradley was on the bench on Monday but wasn't fit, so wouldn't have been able to come on. He had a thigh injury, so we were tight in numbers, but we've got enough players fit and available that we need. But pretty much the whole squad, barring Jamie and Stephen, Sean Mackey still long term. And as I said, the rest of us is all that's left in the building.
Just before the end of the season, Jack, think you'll be able to see Jamie again?
Yeah, hopefully. We've not set any time for him at this time. He's been very close a couple of times, and it's been in the last 1 or 2 days leading up to him coming back to being involved in the match day that he suffered a recurrence. So frustrating for him. It's been quite hard going for him because he feels it, because he's determined to make an impact here. He has done already at stages this season, but it's been a frustrating period for him. So we need to try and get to the bottom of it this time and ensure that when he does come back, then he's good to go.
Just quickly, I think another thing Ron said during his presser and stuff midweek was that you're a steady steward of the club. Do you agree with that?
Is that? I don't know. Is that a good or bad thing? If it's a good thing, I'll agree with it. As a bad thing, I'm saying no, I don't agree with it.
I was going to say, make your own mind up.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy the job. I think I've grown into the club over the past year, in particular this season. Missed that probably opportunity to form that real relationship with supporters, if you like, from being in the stadium all the time. But I think in terms of being driven to make the club successful and being pragmatic enough about the best way to do that, then I think my own way of working runs very much in alignment with Ron. So it's been a good partnership so far, and long may that continue.
Jack, Scott Allen mentioned recently about his relief at returning back to playing some football. It's good to see him getting some minutes for Inverness. As a manager looking at his road to recovery, is it encouraging to see him getting those minutes there, and you looking forward to welcoming him back into the side for next season?
Yeah, I mean, the whole reason for him wanting to go on loan was that. I think that's something that needs to be recognised. There was absolutely no desire for him to leave the club. It was all driven by him. And it was because, the stage his fitness he was at, because I think if you've seen the game, he's played 60, 70 minutes in the Championship. Playing the top 6 of the Premiership was a different challenge and intensity of the games. So in order for him to continue that full recovery from the health issues he had early in the season, he felt as if it was the right thing for him to do, and ultimately was supportive of that, had to be convinced. So the whole reason for him going there was to get those necessary minutes, and it's pleasing that he's been doing so.
And obviously, just a quick one on the Scottish Cup drawn against Stranraer. Are you feeling as if you could maybe get a wee run going and maybe take Hibs back to the final of the Scottish Cup again this season?
No, I mean, it'd be hugely disrespectful to Stevie and his squad at Stranraer for us to look beyond that. We were incredibly respectful of Queen of the South in our preparations for that game and how we approached it, and I think that was reflected in the performance. And once Sunday's game is out the way, everything we do in the week leading up to Stranraer is about giving them the same depth of preparation that we do for any league game. If we're successful and go beyond that, then it progresses us following the cup again. But certainly for us at the moment, we're not looking any further than that game.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.